Here's some toast I made in my toaster set on medium. But so is this. I obviously have a problem. I think I need to buy a new toaster. Stick around. Let's find out. Hello, welcome to A Comfy Cozy Kitchen. I'm Mary Ellen. After having 16 homes and 18 kitchens, I help you work through all of the challenges and obstacles that you face in your kitchen so that you can make it function much better and truly be a comfortable, cozy place to work. We love our kitchen appliances. We spend so much money on them. They do bring value into our kitchens. They help us slice, dice, chop, mix, make our coffee, fix our toast, heat up our leftovers. But sometimes we struggle to find a place to store them, and way too often, after a month or two, we've quit using them. We spent all this money on them, but now they're just pushed into a closet or into the back of a cabinet somewhere, never to be used again. We don't want to waste our money when we go to buy a new kitchen appliance. Some of these can be very, very pricey. Well, I do have a strategy for approaching this particular problem in the kitchen. So first of all, I'm not telling anyone what specific appliances they should or shouldn't have in their home. There's quite a few that I don't own that almost everybody does. And then I have a few that hardly anybody has. Everybody cooks differently. Everybody's situation is different. And what you need is going to be very different than what I need in your small countertop appliances. What I'm going to do is talk you through how to really think about the purchase to make sure that it is going to be something that you're going to love for a long time and continue to use. And it really all starts with one question. And the magic question is, why do I want this new appliance? I know why I'm going to be in the market for a new appliance soon. You saw what my toaster was doing. It's become very unpredictable. It's no longer functioning properly. I'm getting inconsistent results, so I need a replacement. This answer really revolves around, I'm replacing something I already have. Something that I already use and I know I've used in the past, so I need to replace it. But we still need to be a little bit careful here with this one. Just because you've had it for a long time doesn't always mean that you use it all the time. Until you're actually in a situation where you know that you're going to use the appliance very often, you can rethink this. Just because you owned it yesterday doesn't mean you have to own it today. So those are the clarifying questions that you need to ask yourself when you're replacing something. Another reason I hear a lot for purchasing a new appliance is because it's something that someone has wanted for a very long time. So maybe you do something every year, like bake a big batch of cookies for the holidays, and you think, I really wish I had one of those expensive big stand mixers. It would make that job so much easier. And it might. If it's something that you've wanted for a long time, really sit down and think about, when has that desire really come up and you've started to think about it again? What are the tasks that you're doing? Are they that difficult to do by hand? If you're only making 24 cookies, probably not. If you're making 20 dozen cookies, you might really need some help from a piece of equipment. But again, if that's the only time of year that you do it, even then, is it worth it? Another thing to consider is, how difficult is that appliance to clean? Do you really know? Some appliances can do a great job, especially when we're doing things in bulk, but can be very difficult or very tedious to clean. So even if this is something that you've wanted for a long time, but every time you've thought about it and you're doing a small job and the appliance that you're eyeing is really difficult to clean, well, doing that small job by hand may still be a lot easier than cleaning that appliance after you've used it. So just think about the things you're doing whenever you get this desire for this appliance that you've wanted for a long time, and ask yourself those types of clarifying questions in order to identify if you'd really be bringing value in, or if you'd just be bringing in another piece of equipment that will eventually become another chore. All right, so another potential answer to this question is that something in your life has recently changed. Maybe you started a new diet, discovered a new cuisine, or maybe you're starting to get a little bit more mature and the aches and pains are starting to set in and it's limiting your mobility. Or maybe you've had some sort of accident which has severely limited your mobility recently. These can all be good reasons to think about buying a new appliance and adding it to your kitchen. However, if this is the case for you, that something has really changed, if it's something to do with your cooking, if it is you started a new diet or you've discovered a new cuisine, I highly recommend that you actually wait a while. Make sure you're committed. Make sure you're going to love that new cuisine 6 months from now as much as you do today. If you're going to kind of get over it in a month or two and start to tire of it and only want it very rarely, you might not want to bring in a new piece of equipment. If it's a mobility issue, however, addressing those mobility issues so that you stay motivated and continue to love your time in the kitchen, that can be very important. You really need to think about what pieces of equipment do you actually need to help you with the tasks. What tasks are you struggling with, and what would be the best piece of equipment for that? Ideally, if you can find one piece of equipment that serves multiple needs, that's even better. That's true with or without mobility issues. Another answer I hear quite often is how much fun it is. These are the novelty appliances, the snow cone maker, the popcorn maker that looks like it comes from a movie theater. These can be a lot of fun, especially if you have kids or grandkids. However, they are more of an entertainment item than a true kitchen appliance, for most of us at least. I mean, how many snow cones are you going to make, and how often are you going to do that? Really ask yourself those questions and then figure out whether or not it's really buying a kitchen appliance or if you're buying some sort of new fun activity for your kids. And understand that if you're doing it just for fun, whether it's for your kids or for you, it's probably not going to be as fun 6 months from now as it is today. So approach it with that in mind so that you won't regret it when inevitably you're no longer interested in it and it needs to be put away or be given away. The last big answer to this very simple question of why do I want this is one that we might be just a little bit uncomfortable with. It really revolves around being influenced by others. It kind of falls into those impulse buys. So it could be you're being influenced by your friends who have it and love it. You're seeing it show up on your social media feeds and it looks really fascinating. Or you're standing in line and it happens to be there when you're at the store and you're suddenly have an impulse to buy it. We've all been there. It's okay. We don't like to admit that we are influenced by these things, that others kind of plant those seeds and they grow, or that marketing can have that kind of effect on us. The important part is to ask yourself those clarifying questions. And in this case, really focus in on what do you think it would do for you? Do you think it would bring true value? Do you have other appliances that are already suiting that need? Do you think it would be kind of a fad and then you'd be over it? I know, for example, that waffle irons are really having a moment right now. Everybody's buying waffle irons. There are all sorts of recipes out there about what type of meals you can make in your waffle iron that isn't really a waffle. Right? Consider if that's the type of food that you like, whatever this particular appliance does. If you don't like waffles or you don't eat them very often or you're just kind of neutral on them, you never had the need before, or if you don't eat the type of recipes that everyone's pushing now for waffles, even though it seems kind of exciting and you kind of might want to get in on the trend, maybe rethink that just a little bit. All right. So you've worked through this whole process, you've asked yourself the magic question, you've asked yourself the clarifying questions, and you've decided, yes, I really do want to buy this new appliance. Well, should you really invest hard in it, or should you maybe proceed from a more economical perspective? Well, let's figure that out too. Let's talk about my toaster again. We use it every day, every single day. But we don't usually make toast in it. What we usually make is bagels in it. But because I use it every single day and it's a replacement, I do want to buy a new toaster. And this is something I am going to invest in. So anything that you are using that regularly and you know you will use it that regularly because you have used it that regularly, I think it's a very safe place to go ahead and invest where you most likely won't regret your purchase. Another place where this can be true is those long-term desires. If you really do bake 20 dozen different cookies every Christmas and a few cakes for birthdays throughout the year, and that mixer is really going to make your life genuinely easier, then I think it's safe to go ahead and invest. Mobility issues are another area that if you're trying to solve for those, go ahead, spend the money, but not until you've really figured out what you need to solve for that mobility issue. Once you've got that figured out, go ahead. So where should you approach this more economically? Well, this would be the things that you're just trying out, the things that you're not sure about. If you're buying an appliance because of a new culinary love or because you're starting a new diet, start at an entry point that's a lot lower. Maybe borrow one from a friend, thrift it, or get a basic model just to see if you're going to stick with it or not. Make sure you're not going to regret it if you don't like it. But hey, you might like it. You can always upgrade later if you find out that you do truly like it. All right. So what are some other things to consider? We've already touched on the whole budget issue. If it's something that you're truly going to use quite often and you know that 100%, feel free to go ahead and invest if that's what you want to do. If not, think about the entry-level model. But also think about the features that you need. For example, with my toaster, we make bagels. That's what we do. I need to factor that in when I am shopping for my new toaster. I need to know what my budget is and that I need this particular feature and that all of that has to come in one package at that price point. So that's another thing that you need to consider. There can be a lot of different features on a lot of these different appliances. Which ones do you actually need? And then make sure you stick within your budget. Another thing to consider is, what's your breakup plan? You've worked through all these questions. You're in a much better place. You're going in better informed. At the end of the day, there is absolutely no guarantee. However, if you go in knowing what you will do if it doesn't work out, you're much less likely to regret it. So are you going to take it to a thrift store? Are you going to donate it to a friend? If you go into it knowing what you want to do whenever you hit that moment of realization, it's much easier to let go of it. You're not going to hang on to it as long, hoping that you will pick it back up and use it a year or two from now, and then still be looking at it 4 or 5 years from now, regretting that you bought it in the first place. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know how valuable your time is, and I really appreciate that you choose to spend it with me. It means a lot to me. And if you want more kitchen content about how to keep your kitchen organized, how to keep it clean and tidy, how to make it function better, or how to choose better equipment, well, you're already here. You should watch this video too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.